How to close a sale. A webinar can sometimes be a platform to sell another product. Using a webinar to do so provides a tremendous advantage for you as the speaker and the seller. However, it would only work if it were done right. For this module, you will learn how to close a sale. First and foremost, what a good sales pitch needs is a call to action. It is the most important element when you're selling something. In a sales pitch, subtlety doesn't work at all. What is important here is the urgency of the sale. So it is necessary that you give the audience a sense of urgency. A perfect way to do that is a great call to action. It could be anything. Get it now, and what are you waiting for? Or it can relate to the product you're selling. For example, if you're selling Facebook advertising lessons, you can say something like, "Get this product now and be on your way to be an advertising mogul." For a webinar, they can see you and hear your voice. This could be an advantage, as you're more personal with the audience, because they can see and hear you. But also a disadvantage if it were not done properly. When giving the call to action, you must deliver the message with conviction, eloquence, and energy. It would not help if you lack any of these three. The audience would not be convinced if you didn't sound like you yourself are convinced. A good call to action also needs sufficient information. If you are selling a product, you must let the audience know where they can get it, how much it is, and of course, its features. If you do not do so, it would be confusing for the audience, and they wouldn't be interested. Essentially, your chances of closing a sale depend heavily on how you do as a speaker. If the audience was not impressed by what you put on display, they will be harder to persuade. The first thing that you must always remember when giving a talk on a webinar is that the webinar is more about the audience than it is about you. Speakers tend to forget that when all eyes are on them. They can get carried away if they're not careful, and use the stage as nothing more than an opportunity to boast. This may seem unlikely and easy to avoid, but one can get pretty careless. Always remember your role as a speaker, which is to be a quasi-facilitator. You are there to give the audience a push and provide the needed knowledge to take action. They are your attendees because they want to learn, not hear you babble about yourself. To make the audience comfortable with you, you have to engage with them. Audience engagement in any talk is crucial. If you want to close a sale in your webinar presentation, you can't engage with the audience just at that moment. It needs to be done during your presentation also. Plus, it would be a great advantage if you have audience involvement. You can do a bit of an exercise with the audience to capture their attention. During the presentation, you can make quizzes, challenges, and games. Giving them the chance to participate in the presentation will reel them in further, deeper into the subject of your presentation. Audience participation ensures attention. So by having them hooked into your presentation, you can have them hooked to you, the speaker, and that is great leverage that you can use to close a sale. Your presentation should be short and taut. This is especially important if you're a long-winded person. Too much talking may lead to meandering, and you can lose the audience if you do so. Also, if you talk for too long, the audience will lose interest in the middle of the talk. So keep your talk short. Besides, it's more impactful that way too. What is more off-putting than a long presentation is a long presentation that doesn't focus on the main topic. To keep your talk short and taut, always stick to the main focus of the presentation. Try your best not to meander from the main topic and lose the audience's interest. As I mentioned, always remember that the presentation is about the audience, not you. It's best, too, to share testimonials. You would not win the audience's confidence if everything only comes from you. You have to share testimonials, especially if you're talking about a particular product. The Q&A part of the presentation is vital, and it's a perfect way to end the presentation. With that said, it's also very important that you handle it well. The Q&A session is usually during the last 5 to 10 minutes. It shouldn't be too long, as the presentation is considered to be over. Try your best not to extend this part too long. For every question asked, you should repeat the question first before answering them. Do not answer the question straight away, as some of the attendees might have missed the question. Make sure that everyone is on the same page as you before continuing. Repeat the question and make it clear before answering. There are times that you have to deal with a difficult audience. They might intimidate you and could potentially affect your presentation. To handle this audience is almost similar to handling a difficult audience in a live seminar. When an attendee asks a question unrelated to the presentation, kindly explain that it is out of the scope of the topic and move on. Though it's tempting, refrain from sarcastic remarks. For hostile and argumentative questions, answer them and move on quickly. They're not worth your time, usually. Do your best not to get angry. Some people are just there to aggravate you. The internet built bridges that connects the world, and under these bridges there are trolls. The only way to avoid them is to go above them and move on. You must understand your audience, and you should know how to deal with them. There are many kinds of people in the world with many different things that appeal to them. This will become apparent during the Q&A session. A good speaker is a speaker that knows how to communicate with all of them. You should know how to deal with all of them, as the success of your presentation relies on it. Selling a product in a presentation should be reserved for the last 15 minutes. This is called back-end selling. Here you can give your sales pitch. There are a few methods that you can follow to ensure a conversion, like the price slashing technique, where you give the audience a discount if they were to purchase the product. For the price slashing technique to work, you must tell them, best if displayed, the original prices, and then cut the prices. Another technique that proves successful is the scarcity technique, where you make clear that the product you're offering is limited or for a limited time. The idea of this scarcity technique is to create urgency. With this technique, the audience will feel a bit of a push to purchase said product. It's very, very important that the product is relevant to the presentation. Unrelated products would not sell, usually. If your presentation is on Facebook advertising and you're selling a personal development product, the attendees are likely to be unresponsive. Always be congruent in your presentation.